I recently ran a video called No, Chicken Little, the Sky is Not Falling, where I address some of the fundamentals of the company in terms of its long-term prospects, the stock performance, and whatnot, and I got some very interesting comments, some very interesting questions, and I figured I would take a minute to address just a few of them. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So the video was kind of fun. Fat guy in the corner. Cool. Same coat because it's cold. Different shirt. In it, I discuss some of the different issues and why some of them are non-issues and all that good stuff. If you haven't watched it, you probably should do that first. There will be a link in the description. Go from there. And I did want to make a quick thank you to my newest Patreon, Millen, the guy from teslataxi.com.au. He's a pretty cool guy. I like him a lot. We've talked. He was one of the first interviews I did. I'll put a link to that as well. Anyhow, the question was, why would the stock price have anything to say about the health of the company? That's not how the stock market works. That's not how any of this works. So I agree. I think this is absolutely correct. A lot of people don't see it that way. Now, there's a band within the middle of what the stock value is and what the company's health is. If you see sales eroding, a lot of times that will have a negative impact on the stock, but sometimes it doesn't. Ford and GM had some really tough times recently, and their stock's done fine. Some companies can get away with that, but there's always a limit. If you do really, really well, it's going to perform in the stock market, and if you do really, really poorly, the opposite can be true, but there is wiggle room in the middle. Funny how CNN never have a widget showing legacy auto losses, to which I said they follow the clicks. They're the OG clickbaiters. If it bleeds, it leads. That's their whole bias. A lot of people like to assign nefarious purposes to companies that engage in dishonest headlines and whatnot, manipulated headlines, if you will. I don't see a political or other kind of, they got to support the fossil fuel guys. Yeah, to a small extent, but it's the clicks. Whatever's going to generate the clicks, that's their bread and butter. Without the clicks, they can't sell the ads. So, not singling out CNN, I just went and looked. Tesla stock has dropped more than 35% since Elon first said he'd buy Twitter. CNBC, maybe this is a good article. Maybe it's fair. But it isn't. They point out, it's down. Correlation is causation. It's the same thing, apparently. And it's not. So the article is full of lovely, juicy keywords that really don't have anything to do with the story. And you really got to dig to find the actual meat of it. And the actual meat is buried way at the bottom. Tesla stock, since the announced deal in April, has been steeper than its automaker peers, GM, Ford. They're down 2% and 11%. Rivian has fallen just about 5%. You're comparing it to a car company? I mean, you can do that if you want. You could also say that since the announcement, we found that Tesla is more profitable than Toyota. That's, in my opinion, a lot more interesting. What you should be comparing this to is other tech companies. How far down is Meta over the same time period? How far down is Amazon over the same time period? Are those companies doomed? Did their CEOs go on Twitter and say a bunch of things that are probably ill-advised? I mean, in Mark Zuckerberg's case, he did. He talked about Meta. Don't do that. No one cares about the metaverse, Mark. Go get some more barbecue sauce, like a human does. And that's it. That's the end of the article. It ends right there. You're comparing a company that is much more than a car company to companies that are just car companies. GM doesn't really make their own software. They don't make their own seats. They don't make a lot of things. They certainly don't have all the core competencies that Tesla does. How many companies could you spin out that you would still invest in? The supercharger network is better than all of their competitors combined, at least in the US. They've got metallurgists. If they were to spin off just their metallurgy division, that would be something of value. They've got their autonomy. They've got commercial trucking. There's a lot here. Well, you'd never spin out commercial trucking. Wouldn't you? Because GM did that just a few years ago. Spun it out, sold it. They no longer make buses. They still make some other stuff. Chassis for RVs and whatnot. But the bus division's gone. which is crazy because they bought out all the street trams and trolleys and shut those down just to promote their bus division back in the 50s and 60s, I want to say. I purchased my Tesla stock at IPO in 2010 and waited patiently for 9 years with little concern because I fervently believed in Tesla's mission. The current blip in stock price is not a problem for me because the fundamentals of Tesla are so strong and undervalued, I have complete faith in the bright future for the company. Well, you should. This is the right perspective to take. If the company was worth twice as much in January as it is today, what's changed? Well, the whole market's kind of tanked. Interest rates have gone up. But what about the company? The company itself? They're making more cars. They're making more profit. They've got factories ramping. They've got the Semi coming out any day. They've got Cybertruck in tooling as we speak. Made a whole video on that. The tailwinds are in place. This is a buying opportunity. And I say that as someone who is diversified. I'm very well diversified. I have Tesla. I have Triple Q, which is a mutual fund with Tesla. And I have ARK Invest, which is a mutual fund with Tesla. Not super jazzed about my ARK investment. Oh, did I say I have Triple Q? I sold that. I sold it all, and I bought 36 shares of Tesla. So I'm not all in on Tesla, but I'm close. That's my opinion. This is not financial advice. But if it was, I don't know. There's a lot of people you'll see on social media who are absolutely convinced that all of this is fake. There are no Teslanaires. Buddy, there are janitors who work at Tesla who are Teslanaires. There are receptionists who got, if you started 3 years ago, the lowest amount of money you got was 20 grand in stock shares, which, by the way, are now fully vested. That 20 grand grant you got is worth 300 grand today. So, the notion that a Teslanaire does not exist is ludicrous on its face. You cannot have a stock that goes parabolic without millionaires being created. Todd says, Todd, who I did meet in Texas, very well done. The past shows how we are today. We are great. In a few months, Twitter will be calm. Tesla will be in 2023 for 2.1 million vehicles, building more factories, 3 more factories, and increase their 21 billion in cash reserves up to 31 billion. All is good. FSD, robotaxis, robots, the future looks good. Fun fact on that 2.1 million, this was pointed out in an interview the other day with Randy Kirk, author Randy Kirk. The run rate is already 2.1 million. And Berlin and Texas are still ramping. Fremont's just brought in a team of production engineers from Shanghai to help them increase their output. Shanghai is kind of still ramping. It's always ramping. 2.1 is a low number. That's where we start the year. It might be 2.3, 4. Randy Kirk thinks 2.5, 2.6 million. It does look good. The fundamentals are great. Twitter will calm down, and Elon will stop selling. Well, he promised no more sales. No, he said he didn't plan any more sales, and I believe that. He did not plan more sales. Elon is the CEO, and he has an obligation to the investors. He has taken us all on this Twitter ride because he's cash poor. He brags he doesn't take a salary. Seems like this is the reason he should have a salary instead of the enormous stock reward gifted him numerous times. To me, Elon has damaged the brand as his personal piggy bank to exploit when he sees fit. In my view, the buyback is totally owed, considering he sold again after proclaiming he was done. So his actions make him a liar. He needs to do better. I agree he needs to do better. I agree everyone needs to do better. I need to do better. You're not wrong, necessarily. I still disagree a bit. We know why he sold more. He had to. He didn't plan to, but he had to. The buyback isn't owed. It would improve the stock price today. If they did that, I'd like it to go into the kind of buyback where they still have the shares and could sell them again, so that if they needed to raise funds in the future, they could. I believe the price is low enough now that a buyback is in order. The PE ratio is like at under 60. It's only getting better. And, is he tarnishing the brand? Until we run out of demand, the answer is no. Dieselgate should have destroyed Volkswagen. But it's going strong. I wouldn't say stronger than ever, but it's still one of the biggest car companies in history, despite the inarguably terrible stuff that they did. And what Elon's doing isn't terrible for a company, unless that company is Twitter, in which case you could argue it either way, and I will not bother to do so. Excellent points. Thank you. The only issue, David wrote me this, the only issue I have with your analysis is the part where you cherry pick ho-hum growth stocks to make the case that Tesla's undervalued. I would argue T-Mobile, Amazon, etc. are overvalued given the market conditions. That is a legitimate concern and criticism. David, thank you. I said those were absolutely cherry picked. I did cherry pick them. Amazon, I had on the top of my head. The others I had to dig for. I had to pick the extremes because there are very few companies in modern history that have seen 50% year-over-year growth on such a consistent basis. I apologize for not addressing this in the video. I agree that pointing out that these are outliers and the reason for it and highlighting them would have been a stronger argument on my part. I did pick them specifically because they're outliers. But we can not argue that Amazon and T-Mobile are valuable companies with a bright future. I believe that. I think if you were to argue against that, it'd be a tough sell. So I'm not sure what I could have done better, except point out that they were picked for a reason. And I apologize for that. The point remains, when you're looking at a PE ratio, you're looking back. When you buy an index fund is balanced based on the past. Tesla boomer mama, Alexandra, pointed that out to me, and that was something I hadn't even considered. It's tough. We're looking at the future. Predicting the future is somewhat more difficult than predicting the past. And for that reason, I think the PE ratio is very low for the value that is inherent to the company. Forget about Robotaxi and bots and AI in general. Just look at the company for what it is, and you'll see that you've got growth in autos, growth in energy, growth in services, and now, coming very soon, growth from the supercharger network in terms of retail sales. All of these are big things, valuable things. So I do want to thank my patrons who get early access, bonus content, all that good stuff, and more bonuses coming soon. YouTube only pays about a third of my online revenue. Doesn't count, merch and donations. Those would make YouTube an even smaller percentage of my income. So, thank you guys for making the channel possible. It means a lot to me. For the rest of you, subscribe, hit the bell, like the video, comment, whatever you gotta do. Tell a friend, open the window, shout about it. No one's gonna think you're crazy. They'll just recognize your commitment, and they'll appreciate it, because that is a thing. So what did I miss or misunderstand? Leave it in the comments. I'll read them, I promise. Probably won't make a react video. But in the meantime, stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots in the future.